Hello friends, this is Amy and welcome to my channel. Have you seen these little wooden bunnies at Dollar Tree? I just bought one and thought this will be so cute to make a little face on. I did cover it with some linen paint. It looks like linen. It's actually like an off-white. And the easiest way to put some eyes on something, if you want them nice and round, is just to use the end of like a dowel or an eraser and a pencil, a new eraser, that kind of a thing. And then put a few little pink areas in there with a stencil brush, and that kind of softens it up. And now I'm just going to kind of go along and add some details into this. If you needed to use a pencil, that would be perfectly understandable. You could kind of draw it on and then maybe erase it so it's just very slightly visible. Now I know that mine isn't perfect either. It's something that you just got to work at, and almost with some of this you just got to take a chance and whisk that little paintbrush across. Now watch when I do these whiskers. That's kind of my goal, is just to whisk it across. You'll see other people painting and they just like do it effortless, like no effort at all. They just have these beautiful whiskers, and I'm just like, I'm gonna mess this up. But maybe someday I'll just be able to do that too. And I do believe it's got a lot to do with the brush as well. And I don't know if I have quite the right brush for doing that. When you have a little girl bunny, then it needs some eyelashes. And so I'm just kind of adding to that. You could put those little eyelashes at the base of the eyes or right in the side like that. They're both super cute. And then don't forget to add a little white so it's got some life to it. And then I do have like this really fine Sharpie pen, and that way I can kind of do things like that and outline that little nose. It was kind of fading away into the background there. And then little dots. That is just so much fun, and it just brings everything to light, and it just makes it super cute. It's always nice to add a little light to the nose too, a little shine. And I'm just using a toothpick for this. It needed some eyebrows, so I'm just taking that same very fine pen and I'm just going to put some eyebrows on there. Now these are some Prima flowers. I bought these at Hobby Lobby, and I just loved how they kind of had like the ombre, light to dark. And so I thought I can do a lot with these because we've got different shades, kind of starts with the white and goes down to pink and then deeper pink. And so I'm just using, what was in that package with these leaves too. I just love the green. It's so cute. And so that's kind of where I was going with this. And then I've seen a lot of crafting with this Excelsior, which is basically shaved wood. And I did pick up one of those. I can see myself using that a lot now. Just think of chickens and things too. That's something chicken crafts would really look cute with. Now I was out and about with my husband a few months ago, and we had gotten, I see these things. It was a bed spring. They had craft, not old days, but back in the 90s and stuff, we'd craft with these bed springs, and a lot of times they just put like a styrofoam piece on there and then decorate it. You could have, like a Santa or snowman or something. Well, I'm going to use that spring, but I'm going to use it a little differently. We're not going to put the styrofoam on. I'm going to use it for my little bunny head. And so I kind of had to make a makeshift little place so he could actually stand up in there. And I had this very cute pink gingham print ribbon, and it was way too bright. So I'm kind of dulling it down with that pink. And looks like I even went over it with a little bit of, probably that's antique wax, just to kind of give it a little age. And what I'm going to work on here is making a messy bow. And so I'm just starting out with this pink, and then I'm kind of looking around for something else to put in there. This is a great way to use your scraps. I did not use scraps. I cut this out, but if you had scraps, this is a perfect way to use them up. Just dusting a little bit of that antique wax on there to give it a little bit of more color. Now, to make sure that this stays in that spring, you want to use a good glue, and I chose E6000, and that thing has not moved. So here's my little collection of scraps, and I've kind of cut them down and just layer them on there, and then wind something around to tie it off. And what works better than that than just good old twine? Now, as I'm putting this up there, I noticed it's not quite right. I needed something to kind of wrap around it first. And so I'm just using some, it's kind of like that brown ribbon, and that way it'll kind of look a little more put together. And so I hot glued those two fabric pieces together. Hot glue works fine for this. Instant hold. And I wanted to add just one more little thing, and I had more flowers, and so I popped in a little flower so you can see it there. What do you guys think of this little bunny? I love how this turned out, and I'm glad I used this as my first craft. There's 10 of them in this video. To me, this is a very good first craft to see, because you can see all the fun things we're going to make in this video. I am super excited about this, and so check it out. We've got lots more fun things coming right at you here. We're going to go with DIY number 2. Okay, this has been an idea too I've had with these little old muffin tins. So if you want paint to stick, clean it up with, your rubbing alcohol, and that's like nearly 100% rubbing alcohol. And cleaned it up, let that dry, and then I just put the chalk paint right on top of that. It's the same color I used on the little bunny. It's that linen cloth. Make sure everything's good and dry. Now this is something I do sell in my Etsy shop. I've got a few of these left. I will list that in the description box. There's always some fun things on these little sticker pages that come in those packets. The rest of it is paper. And just since I had my antique wax, I just wanted to kind of stain that. Have you guys used that for stain? I'm really kind of liking it just because it's just so easy to clean up. It's just a water-based product. And then just going to pop on a sticker, and of course I wanted to embellish it with more of those pretty flowers and just kind of stuff I had around in the craft room just to make it a little more three-dimensional and pretty. So I had been at a thrift store and I picked up that little muffin tin for 50 cents. If you had an old one that you were just like, this thing's wore out, that'd be perfect to use on this. It was hard for me to decide which paper flowers to use because, oh my gosh, they got so many pretty paper flowers. And I was lucky enough to find these cute little wood, like it's a flower hole, a mini flower pot. Used my antique wax to stain that up. And I thought, okay, this can fill up one of them too. More cute flowers. And just going to add some Spanish moss. Yeah, so this was a fun way to use up some of the little pieces that I had sitting around. Look at these little cuties. It's like a little fence with flowers. So I had some fun just painting each individual part of that, you know, the fence and then the flowers. And then you'll see at the end, it's not really going to show you much, but I did end up kind of trimming it with the scissors. It's just that thin wood. And that way it'll fit in the cup of that, you know, where the muffin tin is. You'll see it. This is why it's great to have a variety of colors and stuff when you're, you know, you've got your paints out there. If you use them enough, then it's worth buying them. And then I was thinking, gosh, it'd be cute to have a chocolate bunny. And again, Dollar Tree sells these little packages of this, and it's just so much fun. You know, you pick it up and eventually you end up using some of this stuff. So, and just a little black dot for the eye, and it's hard to see it, but it's there. Just kind of showing you the process of, you know, if I had painted something, then I set it aside to dry because I was going to use it on something else. And these also are some little papers that I sell a lot of these. I've got a few left, and that's another thing you can look for in the Etsy shop. I also have my own website now, and as I get new products in, I am going to be putting it on my new website because it's a lot cheaper than selling it through Etsy. They've got a lot of costs incurred in, you know, everything. And so as I add product, I'm going to put it in my store, my online store. This is a great way to finish off those edges, is just use a nail file or some sanding paper. Look how nice and sharp and clean that is. And then use the two different glues. The hot glue is the quick glue, so it holds down, but then we've got some craft glue for a permanent hold. And just going to pop on one of those stickers of so cute little rain boots. And of course, let's put a cute little flower on there too. I made my own little eggs. There's a few of these in the video. I just had some of this air dry clay, and you know, you don't have to bake it or anything, and just rolled them, kind of roll them in a ball, and then you kind of, you know, work it so you kind of make it a little tip on the end. Not really a tip, but you know what an egg shape is. And then just set them aside to dry. Now, if you want this to look like it's chippy and it's enamel, this is how you do it. It makes it look like there's, you know, white enamel underneath, and that it's been a little chippy and old, and it just really adds to it. And then I wanted to use that little spray, or not spray, but I wanted to give it a few like dots like I did with those eggs. So just put some black paint on a toothbrush, an old toothbrush, and a little water, and you just kind of pull it back, and it'll just flick those little dots all over the place. And now I'm ready to fill in my little places of my muffin tin. Some of it, you know, didn't, you know, want to be very deep. You just kind of work with it. And it would be fine if you wanted to glue a little wood in there to have something to hold on to, like if you had something on the base. But it all worked fine the way I did it. So if you like this, you could paint it different colors. You could have tip it the other way, so it's like 2, 4, 6 instead of the 3 and 3. There's a lot of ideas you could do with this. To me, it kind of reminds me like of a chicken coop, you know? So maybe in the future I'll make one with a chicken coop. Now you can see how I worked with that little flower. Once it was dry, it stayed just fine. And there it is. What do you guys think of that one? I think it turned out really cute. I like it. One way to use up those old muffin tins that are all crappy and you can't use them anymore. I've seen people paint the other side too of these, you know, they're painting the where it pops out in the back. Well, let's keep going. I've got another one here. DIY number 3. All right, this is just a piece of, you know, it's round cardboard. It was on something and I just kept it. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a bunch of little of the messy bows. And then I'm just going to glue them onto that cardboard and we're just going to create a wreath. And just pick colors you like. I've got some, we've got felt in there. I've got burlap and then some of that ribbon. I believe that ribbon I got at Dollar General a couple years ago. And that just looks so cute for like an Easter wreath. So just start and just kind of keep going along with gluing it down. And part of this, I did need to put a little burlap down first because some of that white was poking through. You could see it. Just do what you need to do so it looks nice. And there it is. And then I have these little bunnies from Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to paint it white. And then since I had the burlap out, once that was mostly dry, I just put some paint on the burlap and then I placed it on the bunny to give it some texture. Use the hazelnut Waverly chalk paint, put that right on the burlap with my pouncing it on with that makeup sponge. And then I just kind of laid it on there and thought, let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that looked all right. And of course I wanted to give him an eye. I don't know, I just feel like they need an eye. And then using my 2 glues to glue him onto the wreath. And I was thinking I was done, but I looked at it, it's like, this is not done. I'm not really, you know, just super happy with this. So, well, it looks like I put a little tail on his bottom, but I did get out some of those little, I'm not sure if they're pip berries, the little berry garland it says, and I just kind of wound it around. It has little berry tips that are white and green, and that worked perfectly for matching the colors of this. And I had pulled out the wire that was in those little, the orange and, you know, burlap colored ribbon. And I just used those little fine wires to adhere that to the, you know, the spots in there. And then I thought it looked a lot better. That was definitely better. It needed something. What do you guys think? Did you like that one too? Well, let's keep going. We got another one here. DIY number 4. Okay, you know, like I said, I was at the thrift store. This was another one of those items I picked up for little or nothing. You know, the artwork's really cute on here, but we've got to make it farmhouse. So I got out my chalk paint, and I believe I had a couple coats. Let them dry in between, and we're just going with a good old white. Let that aside, set that aside to dry. Everything's ready to go now. And then the top of this was kind of like a red, like a, I don't know, an old red. And I decided to just paint that red with black. And I painted that black, and then I, with that little handle, it was loose. And so I put some glue in there and made that so it's not wiggling around. It was basically falling back and forth. And then I painted that black as well. Now I went ahead and looked on Etsy and found a very cute chicken print, and I printed it on tissue paper. It's pretty easy to do, and just cut it out, and we're going to adhere that to this white with Mod Podge. And I cut it out, but I usually end up ripping, because the ripped part, it'll actually look more natural and not such a sharp edge. So once you're done with that, go ahead and get your Mod Podge, apply a coat, and then you're going to want to put it on while everything's still wet. And you can actually use your brush to kind of pick it up. And it got a little crooked, but once it's on there, boy, it's hard. You don't want to really take it off. It'll tear, because it was almost like, ooh, it's glued on there already. But anyway, it looked fine, and so I'm just taking my time to kind of take out all those little wrinkles, and it's such a small piece. There's really not a whole lot of wrinkles and problems with that. And then a coat of Mod Podge right over the top, and let that dry. And since I had my Excelsior out, we put a little Excelsior right in there, fill that up. And these are eggs that I had bought from Hobby Lobby. They're not the ones I made, but these are a little bit bigger. But it needed 3 eggs in there. Aren't those cute? Even little brown eggs would be adorable in there. I like how that one turned out too. Easy. You know, we could do this. And if you have not seen how to print on tissue paper, there's a lot of tutorials out there. It really is not hard. You're just basically going to tape your tissue paper down to your printer paper and run it through. Just make sure everything's down nice and tight. Well, let's keep looking here. We've got another DIY coming right up. DIY number 5. Okay, you guys have seen these little, they're like little houses, I guess, at Dollar Tree. I've never liked that on the inside, and so I also found these on Etsy. Are these not the most pretty little bunnies? Somebody's got a lot of talent with their artwork. So I will list that too, where the pretty little bunnies, and I like to take the back end off, and so I'm just kind of showing you how I'm trying to get that back end off. I ended up just prying it off with the scissors, and it popped right off, no problem. Okay, now it's separated. Clean things up, and then you've got your piece of paper there, or your back, that you can work with, and you don't have to worry about trying to fit it in the frame. And another tip is to take your hot glue, not hot glue gun, your heat gun. You can melt that right off the back of those stickers. It comes right off. It's a pretty slick trick. And then make sure you get as much paper off that thing that you can. I got as much as I could. And now I'm just going to use a glue stick and going to put this down all over and hold that down into place. And then at the tip, there wasn't enough of the image, so I did do a little cutting and pasting or piecing it together. You'll see that. So once you've got that on there where you want it, cut it out, and then use your sandpaper, emery board, whatever, to take off that edge. And here I'm, just trying to fix that part on the top. You'll never notice it anyway. So once you've got your paper off, then it's fine. Now you can put it right back into that frame. And I just went along the frame with some white glue, and then for sure just hold that into place for a little bit so it can set up. What I loved about these bunnies is they're just, I don't know, they're just so cute, and it just, like a bunny with a dress on standing up isn't realistic, but yet it's so, it's just so cute. I love it. She's got her little fruits there and vegetables. Okay, so I didn't know quite what to do, and what I did is I cut these out with my die cutting machine. You've got to have a die for this. You could do this with stickers, or if you had your Cricut. Just going to layer these hellos so it's thicker than just like one piece of paper. It's more of like, it's not as strong as a wood piece would be, but it's pretty close. So I had 4 of these and I just stacked them. You just glue on top of one another and then just keep stacking. This is where you can use your other crafting, like paper, the card making and that. You can use that in this kind of crafting too. It's just fun. Okay, I got my hello out there, and then I know where I want to put it, so I'm going to just put glue right where I need it. And that glue just hold, it adheres really quickly, and just hold it into place, and there you got it. And it matched the colors so nice. I just thought it turned out super cute. Isn't she a pretty bunny? And those prints are so beautiful. A lot of fun things. I'm sure I'll be using those again for more Easter crafting. Another fun craft. Well, let's keep going. DIY number 6. I also bought at Hobby Lobby. I did get these on sale. They were white wooden eggs, and I want to make some baby chicks. And so I found I had a couple of hearts in my little stash, and I'm going to make some feet. And just kind of, it was like an orange, but I put some white in it to make it more pale. And then this is the Dixie Belle. I missed the color, but it's a very pretty little, it's just totally a chick, baby chick color. This yellow, mustard yellow, I believe is what it is. Once I got those covered, then I wanted to put them on the feet. And so using the 2 glues, the long term and the short term hold, just pop those little eggs right on top of the hearts. Once things have set up, then you can kind of work on putting the faces on. Here's another trick. If you want to make some nice round eyes, you can use the end of a paintbrush. Just dot it on from the black. Sometimes they'll get bigger, you just kind of be careful with how much you press down. And I want to make a girl and a boy, but their faces are basically the same. I'm trying to get better with my line work, and so I'm going to give this little guy some eyebrows, and the little girl too. Ideas you can get for this is, you can look and see what others have done. I was looking as far as a mouth, and I ended up not going with a mouth because basically the beak is the mouth. So I have a beak on here, but there's not really a mouth. Otherwise, I thought it's not going to look like a chick at all. It's going to look, I don't know what it'll look like, but so here's our little girly eyes. And then I did want to go with those cheeks, but when I got all done with this pink, it wasn't dark enough, nearly dark enough. So then I just kind of got out another color and added in more of a red-like cheek. I have seen people use actual blush, like a powdered blush. It's, you know how they'll compress it. And if I would see the right color, I'd probably pick that up because that works really good too. And you can put it on fabrics and everything. Now I'm using an orange. The first time I did it, it wasn't very visible, so I just basically got the orange out so you could actually see what you have here for their beak. And while I'm working on this, then those eyes are drying. And this is the little top. This is just a little bit of felt, and I just kind of worked with it. We're going to pop that on the little guy, the little boy. He's going to have that for his hair. And then I got a bow for the little girl. And now I'm going to put some light in their eyes, and I wanted them to look at each other. So if you put his eyes both on the one side and hers on the other, then it kind of looks like they're looking at each other. And again, just using a toothpick. And I wanted to go with some dots. So here's the light on the nose. And then I was like, oh, I think I should put a few dots. So I went overboard on him. Didn't like it, kind of wiped it off. And just did a couple on the girl just to show a little light. I was like, yeah, this is better. Let's wipe this off. And then I just went with a couple there. And it all turned out just fine. It's just crafting. You know, you can do it again if you don't like it. And there is my little chick, happy little couple. I love how they turned out. You know, you could personalize these if you had little kids in your life and you wanted to put their names on the bottom. That'd be a fun thing to do for Easter, and maybe put it in their table setting. Let's keep going. DIY number 7. This is a little house I had on hand. I had never done anything with it. So I wanted to make a very spring-like birdhouse. And I had my husband help me with just cutting some scraps so I could make a roof for it. And I'm going to use truffle. It's a very pretty dark brown. That's going to be my base, but I'm not going to keep it this color. I'm going to paint over it with some linen color. But put this base on, let it dry, and I basically just put it on all the pieces. Now when I had put this on I put the house on this base, I used both the wood glue, and then I did put a nail in there on the bottom that I didn't show. And that way, that thing, if it falls on the floor, it's not going to come off. I also did that for the roof pieces. And I've said before, the best thing to do when you're putting 2 pieces of wood together is use wood glue. It's the best. And now things are mostly dry, and I am going to just put some of this linen color right over the top. And that way it's going to look kind of old and rusty, or not rusty, but dirty. And I wasn't even going to go all the way up with that color, because once you put the roof on, it kind of looks like it's got a shadow there. And like I said, it wasn't quite dry, so then I went over it so I had more of the linen color. This year, so we live in Minnesota, and we have, my husband likes to make cedar birdhouses, and he put little perches on them, and we've always thought we were supposed to take them down over the winter. And I said, you know what, let's just leave them up, because I think that the birds hang around, these sparrows. Sure enough, they've been here all winter. And they're really liking their little birdhouse when we've got nasty weather and we've had a couple blizzards. It's just been kind of a good old-fashioned Minnesota winter this year. Here I've got some black paint and just going to add a little bit, drag that across to give it a little more of a rustic look to it. And when I put on this circle, this is where the, the faux hole where the bird can go in. I did get it off center. And so what I ended up doing is using, you'll see how I got some lavender flowers, and we're going to make that work so it doesn't look off center. This is just showing you how I'm putting down that roof, and off camera I did nail it, put a couple nails in there to keep it on. And then I just had a little chip piece of wood, and I'm just going to paint that and put that on the birdhouse. It needed a little, needed to tell others how blessed they are, these birds. Anyway, my husband and I, we kind of joke about those birdhouses. So I look out my window and I can see them, and I'll say, Ed, have you collected the rent yet this month from the birds? Yep, we collected their rent, kind of laugh about it. And Sharpies work so nice when you want to, do a little writing on chalk paint. I always love to use my Sharpies for that. And then just pop that on. And here I'm just showing you what I'm going to do. I'm going to add this to the side, and that's going to kind of balance that out since I did get that circular part off a little bit. And I wanted to add some anyway, but I tend to kind of go on the other side, but this way it kind of balanced itself out. And then I did want to put a little nest in there, so I basically just got, I had this like nest material, and I put some, Spanish moss in there and just kind of made a nest. And then my eggs that I've been making with the air dry clay, and I'm going to put those in there. This is some more of that. It's not Spanish moss, but it's a moss. So I wanted to put that on the roof and kind of add that here and there. Just kind of fun to keep going with it and making it cute. We are all looking forward to spring. Everyone I talk to is saying this has been such a long winter. Even people that don't normally have snow are getting snow this year. So it's been just one of those years where, it's been a hard winter for everyone. So these spring videos, it's just very encouraging, and we have hope that spring is on its way. Now I had these little butterflies, and I thought that's going to be cute on there, but I had to cut off that shiny stuff because you don't want any of that glittery stuff on there. So I kind of cut that off and popped on that pretty little butterfly, and it was just the right touch. I love it. What do you guys think? Isn't this cute? I love how it turned out. Every time I walk by it, I'm like, just so cute. And see how easy it was? You can do this. Doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, it's better if it's not perfect. DIY number 8. Okay, I've got a few of these left, and this is something you'll find on my website. These little pigs, I used them in the last video, and I'm going to use this cute little pig. And I'm just showing you how you just kind of carefully cut around it. And there you've got your image. And these are like a gigantic bottle cap. You can find these at Dollar Tree. I bought a couple of them, and I'm going to use this. And again, you want to clean that off, get any oils and stuff off, so that way your paint is going to stick really nice. Clean that off really good. Going to get out that pool. I actually had it out. So I'm going to use that. To me, that just looks so cute with those little pigs. As you put the design on there, it's going to look like sky. And so you'll see what I mean, because as that little wreath, it's going to be clear when we put it on. Make sure everything's good and dry before you put your transfers down. Okay, now we're ready to do the transfer. Now you can see how it's see-through there by the pig, and then you're going to be able to see all that pretty blue. And if you notice, he's got a little bird friend right next to him. Isn't that just the cutest little transfer? This happy little pig. Whoever did the artwork, oh my goodness, they did such a nice job. And then just showing you, if something's coming up, just put it right back down and rub it with the stick that's included in the package, and it'll stay really nice. And then there was just some little pieces that were needed to be pushed down a little bit along the edge. Look at that little cute pig. And then make sure you seal it with something, and excuse me, and I used Mod Podge to seal that, and that worked out great. And I thought of putting a little sign on the bottom, but I ended up just putting a piece of this homespun fabric. I have been kind of using that instead of ribbon. I'm just tearing pieces off this piece of fabric I have, and I'm just loving it. Look at this cute little pig. And his little bird friend. Now, if that doesn't speak spring, I don't know what does. We are almost at the end. We've got DIY number 9. This is a Dollar Tree item, and when I picked it up, the coating or whatever on the front, that piece of the paper that was the image, was nearly off, so I didn't have to work very hard to peel that off. And my first intentions were to do like a farmhouse sign. I was just going to use those lettering and maybe put the word farmhouse on there, but I changed my mind. And so I'm just going to put in the small letters fresh cut, and then I'm going to put in those larger letters, and those are from IOD, the Iron Orchid Designs, and it's called Farmhand. And we're going to just put fresh cut flowers on it, and see what I ended up doing. We're going to do some stamping with some flowers, and I'm going to watercolor right on top of this very cute sign. I'm also stamping everything in an IOD pad. That pad is from that company with their inks. That's what they recommended, and it's really good. You can get different colors. Right now all I have is black. Aren't those just fun? And it's neat, they're all separate. You can lay that right out exactly how you want it. And then I'm just using a piece of flexible plastic, so I'm not, I first thought I would use, like a block, but I definitely wanted to be able to push down and make sure everything was adhered to that sign. And there it is, and it's way too big. So I had Ed go down and he cut that for me. And there's the flowers. This is a stamp set from Stampin' Up. And I happen to be a demonstrator. I can put that down. If you're interested in buying something from that company, I would be honored if you would put me down as your demonstrator. Okay, here we go. We're going to do some stamping and just press it down. And see how at first I had the block? Thought, no, I definitely want to make sure everything gets pushed down because you just never know with something like this. So I used that flexible plastic and just pushed it down. And then I just used different leaves and different flowers that came in that set. And just push them down. Now if you're going to do the same thing, you're going to want to use a stamp pad that works well with watercolor if you choose to do it this way. Just make sure things are compatible and that way you don't have any bleeding. Now I'm just taking the color off an ink pad and putting that down, and this happens to be discontinued, so that's why I didn't show that. And what I also did is I let everything dry and then I went back over it with the same color, and that way it gave it a little bit of it's not really a highlight, but it's a little darker, so it looks like it's got some dimension. And this was a lot of fun. You could leave this black and white just the way we had it, but I thought I want to go one more step and we're going to color this in and see how it looks. This is definitely a technique that I want to use in the future on more stuff. Just wait till you see how cute this looks. Anybody can do this. This is easy. I am definitely not an expert at any of this. And with as old as I'm getting, my eyes aren't even all that great anymore. But you know, it does not have to be perfect. It's watercoloring. It's supposed to go outside the lines. And this is where I'm showing you. I let it dry and go over it again a little bit in just the spots that you want to give it a little dimension. All right, so we'll go along with that pink. The other colors I chose were yellow and green. This one is Currant Crushed Curry. I absolutely love this yellow. It's so bright and just fun. And so I'm just putting some of that ink right on the lid of my, you know, where you get your pad there, or the lid. It's plastic. Let that dry, and then here I'm going over it a little bit more to give it the dimension. I even considered maybe putting a little orange right in the center of that, but I didn't do it. And here's that pretty green. It's called Granny Apple Green. It's one of my favorites. And this, I'm just showing you how I did the back. This is one way to secure it with what you have with your hot glue and then a little bit of fabric just to cover that right up, and that'll hold that into place really well. For some reason, this works like a charm. And here is the final result. I love how this turned out. What do you guys think? Now, my first thoughts were to use like a decorative napkin and do a little Mod Podge decoupage there. But then I thought, no, I want to try the watercolor technique. I did not seal it with anything, but if this were going to go outside, you definitely want to seal it with something. We've got one more left to do, the DIY. Sorry about the dog. I have these cute little clay pots, and we're going to do something cute, quick and easy. So I wanted this to stay nice and tight. So the E6000, I'm going to glue these together and then just let it set it aside and let it adhere itself before you do anything else with it. Okay, everything's nice and dry. And I've got a subscriber that absolutely loves the mineral color. And it only needed one coat. That's how nice this paint is. Putting one coat of mineral color on it and let it all dry. And I'm going to tell you, this is really quick, so watch. I had out my homespun fabric and just going to apply that down on the back with some hot glue. Sorry about Pepper, but I have tried to get this video done in several takes and she's just not quitting the barking. All right, let's put a cute little bow right on the front and trim that off. Have you guys seen these little moss bunnies at Dollar Tree? I bought these last year, never used them, and I thought, this is the year I'm going to use these little cuties. See what I do with this. The two glues. Put it right on top. It's like a little stand. And then it needed some Spanish moss to kind of finish it off. And that's it. Such a cute little decor piece. And again, you could use this as a shelf setter or you could put it as a table setting. Lots of ideas. You could use different colors. And there it is. There's my last craft of this video. I hope you enjoyed this video. I had so much fun making these things. I encourage you to do some crafting. If you like this video, please give it a like. It helps my channel grow, and the algorithm, it'll go out there and more people will see it. Thank you, my friends. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.